So the 2021 NHL Draft happened about a week ago from the time that I am recording this, and wow, Mark Bergevin, what are you doing? When you have to make a statement explaining your draft pick, that's a pretty bad sign. Also, realistically, how many people had Sebastian Kosa being the first goalie taken in the draft? Because I didn't, and I don't think a lot of people did. So with all of the craziness that went on during the draft, I wanted to make a video on it, and specifically I wanted to make a video about all of the goaltenders that were selected, since, you know, this kind of is a goalie-based YouTube channel. Hello everybody and welcome back to Goalie Hub, and today we will be learning together about every single goaltender that was picked in the 2021 draft, so we know who the next wave of NHL goalie prospects really are. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Daftness for recommending that I do this type of video, as I did it last year and it was pretty fun, so why not do it again? Before we begin, I did want to mention that if you are brand new to the channel and love goaltending and just hockey in general, then please click that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications to get notified whenever I upload a brand new video, and also follow me on Instagram. It's at goalie_hub. There will be a link down below in the description that you can go check out. Now let's finally get into all the goalies that were selected. The first goalie taken off the board, like I mentioned earlier, at 15th overall by the Detroit Red Wings is Sebastian Kosa. He has a very big frame at 6'6", 212 pounds, and he played for the Edmonton Oil Kings in the WHL this year, where he had an outstanding season, posting a .941 save percentage in 19 games on an absolutely stacked roster. Even the season before this one, in 2019-20, he still had a .921 save percentage, which really proves that he is a consistent goaltender. Now, when Steve Yzerman made this pick for the Red Wings, and by the way, the Red Wings traded up to get Kosa. It was not their original pick. I believe they traded up with Dallas. But when Yzerman announced this pick, I was very shocked, as I thought Walstad was for sure a lock to go in the top 15 of the draft, and to have Kosa go ahead of Walstad was very surprising. Some things I've heard about Kosa, though, that could show why he went so early was that he's such a confident goaltender when he plays in the crease, and I've seen some comparisons to Ben Bishop, probably because of his height, but I could realistically see him being a Ben Bishop type goaltender, and for Detroit that is definitely not a bad thing, as Bishop has been a Vezina contender throughout the prime of his NHL career. Now, Kosa will probably be pushing for the starting job for Team Canada at the 2022 World Juniors, which is a very positive sign for Detroit, as they'll get to see him play against his fellow competition, so we'll see how he does there, but I do like this pick despite Walstad still being on the board. Now, just a few picks later, at pick number 20 in the first round, the Minnesota Wild select Swedish goaltender Jesper Walstad. Walstad posted a pretty solid .908 save percentage in the Swedish Hockey League, and he also got into 2 World Junior games, posting a .923 save percentage for Team Sweden. So those are the kind of numbers that I look at and say, this guy should be a top 10, top 15 pick. I believe Minnesota got a steal here with this selection, as Walstad has the potential to be a franchise-changing goaltender. Considering he was already playing in the SHL before he was even drafted, that is a very impressive feat, and I'm excited to see Walstad's development over the next few years, and hopefully he can come into the Minnesota Wild's crease in a few years' time and take over that #1 job. Now we skip through the second round and go on to pick 78 in the third round, where the Philadelphia Flyers took overager Aleksander Kolasov from Belarus. He primarily played in Belarus's top pro league, posting a .910 save percentage there in 12 games, but he also played 9 KHL games, holding his own, posting a .911 save percentage there, and he also played for Team Belarus at the World Championships, which is pretty incredible as a 19-year-old. Now, I ranked Kolasov as the 7th best goalie going into the draft, and I mean, it's not a bad pick for the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, it looks like Kolasov is going to be playing full-time in the KHL next year, and you never know with some of these goalies developing in the KHL, they can become real good real fast. But overall, it's not a bad pick by the Flyers, and maybe Kolasov can become the next backup goalie to Carter Hart, assuming Carter Hart can rebound from last year and become the starting goalie he was projected to be. Now, just a couple of picks later, the San Jose Sharks picked up Benjamin Goudreau with the 81st overall selection. And Goudreau is an interesting pick here, as he did not get a single minute of ice time in the OHL since, of course, it was canceled due to the pandemic. But in his 2019-20 season, he did play 28 games for the Sarnia Sting, and Goudreau posted an .890 save percentage there. That may not look too impressive, but the Sarnia Sting were one of the worst teams in the Ontario Hockey League that season, so you got to keep that in mind. Now, at least Goudreau got to play for Team Canada at the World Under-18s, where he really impressed me as he posted a .919 save percentage there, en route to winning a gold medal, and it was very impressive for me, which is why I ranked him actually as the number 3 goaltender in the draft. So I think Goudreau has some high upside here for San Jose. I like the pick overall, as San Jose has pretty much nobody in their system in terms of future goaltending, so picking up Goudreau, not a bad pick. I definitely approve of this selection by San Jose. The next goalie taken in the draft, just a couple picks later at pick number 83 in the 3rd round, the Carolina Hurricanes picked up Patrick Hammerla. Now, Hammerla played all of this season over in the Czech Republic, bouncing between the Czech Extraliga and the Czech 2 League, playing for a couple different clubs there, but he overall didn't really have that bad of a season. And for next year, he's actually going to be coming over to the QMJHL to play with the Rimouski Oceanic. So that'll be interesting for his development path, playing in the CHL on North American ice. And even though the Canes have a couple other notable goalie prospects in the system, like Peter Kochetkov and Jack LaFontaine, I'm both really high on them actually. Picking up another one in Hammerla is not a bad option here in the late 3rd round. The last goalie picked here in the 3rd round is Canadian Tristan Lennox, as he was picked by the New York Islanders. Now, similar to Benjamin Goudreau, Lennox did not play a single second of hockey in the OHL this year as it was canceled, but in 2019-20 he had an .876 save percentage for the Saginaw Spirit, and that does seem a little bit low considering the record he had. But the season before he had a save percentage above .900, so you never know with Lennox. From what I've heard, he is a very raw talent, but with the right development, he could become a very good NHLer one day. And with the Islanders, I think this is a pretty good pick actually, as I'm pretty sure their goalie coach is Mitch Korn, who in my opinion is one of the best goalie coaches in the NHL, so maybe Lennox can work with Mitch Korn over the offseason and really build up his game and really develop into a solid NHLer. So not a bad pick by the Islanders, considering they don't really need a goaltender too bad, so they can take a flyer on Lennox here. As we move into the 4th round with pick number 100, the New Jersey Devils selected Jacob Malik. He is an overager as he's 19 years old, but he's got some pretty good size at 6'4", and he played all of this past season in the Czech Republic, where he mostly played in the Czech 2 League, posting some pretty decent numbers as he had a .912 save percentage there, and it looks like he's going to continue playing in the Czech Republic for next season. Now, I find it interesting that he was taken so early in the draft, as I didn't really hear a lot of buzz about him, but it seems like even last year's draft had a few names go in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th rounds that I'm just like, who? But Malik doesn't seem like a bad goalie prospect. Maybe he can be an NHL backup one day, and he adds to that goalie prospect pool that is looking pretty thin outside of Nico Dawes over there in New Jersey. With the 112th selection, the New York Rangers selected Talon Boyko from the WHL. His numbers include a .901 save percentage for the Tri-City Americans. Yes, that is the same WHL team that Carey Price played for, so you never know. Now, one thing that really sticks out to me about Talon Boyko is that he is 6'8", so if he can really learn how to use his size to his advantage, then he could develop into the next Ben Bishop, Andrei Vasilevsky, all of those taller goaltenders. Size is definitely something that is very nice to have if you're an NHL goaltender. The next goalie taken by the Boston Bruins at 117th overall in the 4th round is Swedish goaltender Filip Svedback. He primarily played in Sweden's top junior league, posting some pretty respectable numbers with a .912 save percentage there. But he also got a brief call-up to the SHL where he didn't play any games, but he dressed for a few as a backup, so maybe some of that experience could be beneficial for Svedback. Now, he is slated to come over to North America next season to play in the USHL, so it might be a little bit beneficial for him to get going early on that North American ice and try and make that adjustment now instead of, say, 2 or 3 years down the road. So we'll see how he develops in the Bruins system, and also keep in mind too that as we get later into the draft, it will become harder and harder for me to try and project what some of these goaltenders could be in the NHL. The next goalie taken at pick 122 by the Arizona Coyotes is Rasmus Cronen. Cronen had some respectable numbers in Finland's top junior league, posting a .908 save percentage, and he also got a brief call-up to the Liga, which is something that not a lot of 17/18-year-olds would be able to do. Now, it looks like Cronen could probably end up playing in the Liga next year some more, or at the very least play in the second-tier pro league over in Finland, but I think that experience playing against older men will definitely help out Kronen's development, and we'll see if he can round out into a NHL caliber goaltender in the future for the Coyotes. Before we move on, I did want to mention too that he has some nice size at 6'5". So again, like some of these other taller goalies like Kosa and Boyko, if he can learn to use his size to his advantage, then things could very well work out for Cronen. Now in the 5th round at 137th overall, the Vancouver Canucks selected Aku KoskinVoo from Finland. He's also got a pretty good frame at 6'4", and he also played in the top junior league in Finland, just like Rasmus Cronen, but he didn't quite put up the same numbers as he only had an .893 save percentage there. But regardless, he did play for Team Finland at the World Under-18s and was even Team Finland's starter, so not a bad season overall for KoskinVoo, and maybe he could be something for the Canucks one day as he adds to the Canucks' young goaltending pipeline. The next pick at 148th overall, the Anaheim Ducks took overager Gabe Alexander from the WHL. Now, Alexander actually had a pretty decent season for the Winnipeg Ice, posting a .917 save percentage in 9 games played. And again, he's got that big frame at 6'6", which is a common theme apparently in this draft, is a lot of taller goalies getting picked, so maybe some of these taller goalies could work out. But in my opinion, honestly, size really doesn't determine how good you are. As you look at the season UC Saros had, for example, as he's under 6 feet. Smaller goalies can dominate too, but nevertheless, I think NHL scouts still prefer to have a 6'6" goalie over a 5'10" goaltender. Anyway, getting back onto Alexander, he does seem like a good pickup, and I mean, it's the 5th round. Maybe he'll turn into something. We'll have to see in the future. He will be playing for the Winnipeg Ice again next year, and the Ice are more of an up-and-coming team from what I understand in the WHL, so we'll see. Maybe he can put up some even better numbers. Next up at pick 152, the Florida Panthers picked up Kirill Gerasimyuk. Now, I am a huge Gerasimyuk fan, as he had a .931 save percentage playing in the MHL, which is Russia's top junior league. So I honestly think he could be one of the biggest steals of the draft, and I really like this selection by the Florida Panthers. Maybe he could form a future goaltending duo with Spencer Knight, as the Panthers of course traded away Devin Levi to the Sabres in the Sam Reinhart deal. But like I said, I really like Gerasimyuk, and I'm actually surprised he fell this far, as I had him going in the 2nd or 3rd round. So to get him in the 5th round, it's a good pickup by Florida. At pick 163 in the 6th round, the Seattle Kraken draft another Russian goaltender, Semyon Vyzavoy. Vyzavoy is another goaltender that I really like, as he had a .939 save percentage in the MHL, and he's another guy that I really thought would go in the 2nd or 3rd round, but he ended up dropping all the way to the early 6th round. So I think some of these Russian goaltenders are getting a little underrated here. And as I've said before, I think Russia is one of the best places for goalie development right now, as they're just pumping out goalie after goalie. So Florida picking up Gerasimyuk and now Seattle picking up Vyzavoy, I think these two goalies could both be huge steals when we look back on this draft in 4 or 5 years' time. At 183rd overall, the Washington Capitals picked up overager Chase Clark out of the NCDC in the United States. He is another very tall goaltender at 6'6", and he had a very impressive season, posting a .935 save percentage in 22 games. Now, he also did get a 3-game call-up to the USHL, but failed to post a save percentage above .900 there. But maybe next year he'll be able to go play full-time in the USHL or head over to the NCAA and continue to develop even further. So the Capitals are sort of taking a flyer here. I'm not really too sure what to think of Chase Clark just yet, but we'll have to see a few years down the road. Now at pick 185, the Toronto Maple Leafs draft another Russian goaltender. This time it is Vyacheslav Peksa. He also played in the MHL this past season, and although he didn't quite have the same numbers as Gerasimuk and Vyzavoy, a 909 save percentage is still pretty respectable. It looks like Peksa is going to play another season in the MHL next year, so maybe he can improve on his 909 save percentage, and in the future he could end up playing in the VHL or the KHL, and I guess we'll go from there. But he is a nice selection for Toronto to get in the later rounds of the draft, as he adds to that goalie prospect pipeline of Joseph Woll, Ian Scott, Artur Akhtimov, and now Peksa. Now, just 2 selections later at 187th overall, the Carolina Hurricanes picked up another goalie in this draft. This time it's German goaltender Nikita Quap. He mostly played in the German DEL, and although he only had an .871 save percentage, it's still pretty impressive that he was able to play at that high of a level at such a young age. He was also a member of Team Germany at the World Under-18s, and it looks like next year he'll play full-time in the DEL, so maybe he can improve on his numbers, and maybe we could see Quap come into the NHL and become another German goalie to be an NHLer, as you also have Philipp Grubauer there. So hockey in Germany seems to be expanding pretty fast, and I'm all for it. So maybe Quap could be a big part of that in the future. Finally, moving out of the 6th round into the 7th round at pick 200, the Carolina Hurricanes, I know we've said them already twice, but they wanted to go and pick up a 3rd goalie in the draft, this time selecting Russian goaltender Yegor Naumov. I'm not even gonna lie, this seems like a very off-the-board pick, even though it's the 7th round, as Naumov only played 9 total games this past season in the MHL and had a save percentage of .888. Now it looks like he'll get a chance to improve upon his numbers next season in the MHL, but I don't know about Carolina going with 3 goaltenders in the same draft. It seems a little bit much, even though they did trade away Nedeljkovic. I guess they are just really desperate to find another good goaltender. Just 5 selections later, at 205th overall, the Calgary Flames picked up Arseny Sergeyev. Now, unlike the other Russian netminders in this draft, Sergeyev played in the NAHL in the United States, where he had a pretty impressive .936 save percentage in 20 games played. So maybe Sergeyev could actually be a steal from this draft, considering he had some pretty impressive numbers, and maybe he was under-scouted a little bit, as the NAHL is not quite a top-tier junior league if you compare it to, other leagues like the CHL in Canada or the USHL, which is a tier above the NAHL. Now, I'm not quite sure where Sergeyev will play next year, but it is known that, at least for now, Sergeyev is committed to play for the University of Connecticut in the NCAA for the 2022-2023 season, so maybe he'll be able to develop his game further even there. Now, continuing in the 7th round at 214th overall, the Montreal Canadiens selected Joe Verbatic. Verbatic follows along with the tall goalie theme, as he is 6'6" as well. And just like his fellow OHLers, Verbatic did not play a single game in the 2020-2021 season, but his numbers from 2019-20 include him playing 42 games for the North Bay Battalion, who were one of the worst teams in the Ontario Hockey League, and Verbatic had an .881 save percentage. I honestly feel like if this season wasn't canceled, Verbatic would have been able to improve on his numbers and probably end up being like a 4th or 5th round selection. But that's just what happened with the pandemic. Everything got shut down, and maybe the Canadiens got a little bit of a steal here, as I do like Verbatic as a prospect. I had him in my top 10 goalies available for the draft, so Montreal could have something pretty good here. Finally, the last goalie selected in the 2021 draft in the 7th round, 222nd overall, the Vegas Golden Knights selected Carl Lindbohm. Lindbohm only played 8 games in the Junior 20 National League in Sweden, posting an .890 save percentage, but he was on Team Sweden for the World Under-18s, where he posted a .918 save percentage, so not a bad stat line there against his fellow age group. He's going to continue playing in the J20 National next season over in Sweden, so hopefully he'll be able to get in some more games. I'm not 100% sure if there was maybe some injury issues or just COVID-related problems with the league or whatnot, but maybe Lindbohm could be something decent for the Golden Knights in the future. Again, it's very hard to tell with some of these goalies drafted, you know, in the 7th round. Well, to anyone that has stuck around for this far, I did want to say thank you for watching the entire video. I know it was a very long one, but I hope you learned something. I hope you got to learn about all of the different goalies selected in the draft. I know it was very fun for me to do all the research. And of course, if you did enjoy it, then be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video and comment down below how you think your team did at the draft this year. And maybe even your favorite team picked up one of the goalies that were drafted. Also, if you're brand new to the channel and love goaltending and just hockey in general, then please click that subscribe button and turn on the post notifications to get notified whenever I upload a brand new video. But that is all for now, and I will see you in the next video.
Hello goalies.